Hello, everyone. I'm here to react to the Kansas City Chiefs losing to the Las Vegas Raiders at home 20-14 on Christmas Day. Really disappointing loss, obviously. So that goes without saying. But the main thing I kind of want to get to is that going into this game, I had some concerns about the Chiefs, which a lot of people have, and what I'm saying is not new. I'm concerned about the wide receivers. I'm concerned about the offensive tackles. I'm concerned that maybe losing Eric Bieniemy was a bigger deal than people thought, and that this team may not be tough enough because they are having a lot of mental mistakes, penalties, turnovers at bad times, things like that. Pretty much all of that stuff continued today. But I was going into this game with a pretty hard, fast bar that I had to set. The Chiefs needed to win this game in order for me to still consider them to be a legitimate Super Bowl contender this year. Now, when I say Super Bowl contender, I think the Chiefs are still going to the playoffs. I think they're going to probably get the number 3 seed. I think they're going to get one home playoff game, maybe 2, depending on what happens with the 2 seed. But this team, in my opinion, is not going to the Super Bowl this year because I just don't think that they are talented enough at the wide receiver position, at the offensive tackle position. I don't think they are talented enough in those areas to the point where it is actually pretty much killing their offense for long periods of time and making it extremely ineffective. I don't think they are talented enough to win 3 consecutive playoff games. I do not think that. I don't care if they're at Arrowhead or on the road. I don't think that this team is good enough to do that. I've been on their bandwagon all year. I think you should have been on their bandwagon all year. A good friend of mine has given up on them weeks ago, and maybe other people have too. And I think that's fair, but I think that that's a little harsh, and I think that this entire season, myself and probably a lot of other people have kind of been banking on what the Chiefs have done in the past and thinking, okay, they're going to get it figured out. They've still got Patrick Mahomes. They've still got Andy Reid. They've still got Travis Kelce. You know, they've got a great defense. Look how good the defense is. Their kicking game is good. We'll talk about that in a second too. But they're going to get it figured out, guys. I know they're not looking good now, but they're going to get it figured out. That was my thought process for a long time. And don't get me wrong, if we're talking future years, I still think the Chiefs are in fantastic shape. But in terms of 2023, in terms of this season, I have changed my mind after this last game because I set the bar before it. I set the bar before the game. I said the Chiefs need to win this game at home with a chance to win the division on Christmas Day. They have to win the game, or else I don't consider them to be a legitimate, again, threat to the Super Bowl. I mean, I think to not call them a threat, I even still think is a little bit much because we have seen teams make the Super Bowl that haven't been great, let's say, but I just don't think they can do it. I just think that it's not going to happen. That's what I would say. So to say that they should be completely out of it and not even considered, I still think is too much. They have Patrick Mahomes, but I do not personally think it's going to happen this year now. Merry Christmas, everybody, by the way. Yeah, I got my Christmas sweater here going. But yeah, so it's a very disappointing loss. I mean, we can delve into the game a little bit more if you all want to, and we'll talk about it a little bit more in future videos, I'm sure, in terms of the big picture. But the game itself, the Chiefs made very, very poorly timed errors, again, with 2 defensive touchdowns given up on offense with a terrible fumble where it was like, what are you doing? You just fumbled the ball away and Mahomes is motioning. What's going on? What are we doing here? Scoop and score. Boom. 7 yards, touchdown just like that. And then they throw a pick 6 on the next offensive play. And it's like, and it was a bad pick 6, and it was a bad one by Mahomes. I don't think, a lot of times you can blame the other players, but in that play, it was a bad play by Patrick. But I think as you saw the game go on, I think Patrick Mahomes is not relying on his receivers anymore. He very much had a I'm going to just do it myself mentality the rest of the game. And to his credit, the offense kind of started to wake up. They got inside the 10-yard line on the second to last drive, and then on the last offensive drive, they actually did score a touchdown. And it was nice to see them get a big 45-yard pass play. I believe it was to Richie James, so that's good. Maybe he deserves some more snaps going forward to see what you have there. But yeah, I felt like Mahomes is to the point now where he does not trust his protection to hold up, and he also does not trust his pass catchers to be where they need to be. Kadarius Toney did not play today. He was injured. I actually think that ended up hurting them, but because I do think, despite all of his problems, I do think Kadarius Toney is a weapon that the other team has to account for because he is so fast and dynamic, and they can use him in a variety of ways. But yeah, I mean, looking at this Chiefs team, they just today offensively went through too long of stretches. Really, they went through just one stretch of being bad. It wasn't stretches throughout the game. They just were bad pretty much the whole game. They had 2 drives that they were good, and you know, Harrison Butker missing that field goal before halftime, I think really ended up hurting them, because it ended up hurting them big time later because they actually had to go for the touchdown when they were still down 2 scores, whereas they could have kicked a field goal to get within 7, and then they ended up getting nothing because they didn't score because their red zone offense was pretty bad today. The team is very frustrated. You can see it in their body language. You can see it in Patrick's body language. I thought the offensive line was really bad today. I think that it looked to me, just from in real time, without breaking down the tape, it looked like Wanya Morris had a really tough day. The Chiefs couldn't consistently run the ball when Pacheco was in or when he wasn't in the game. So notice I've been talking for now 6.5 minutes, and I haven't said one word about the defensive side of the ball today. Well, it's because I don't need to say anything about the defensive side of the ball. The defensive side of the ball for the Chiefs today is exactly who they've been all season. They've been a championship level great defense. They have been really, really great all season, and they were fantastic today. They only ended up giving up 3 points, 20-7, 2014. I think they gave up 6. They gave up 6 points. Yeah, that's it. I mean, you can't ask for any better than that. They were fantastic today. They got stop after stop after stop. Yes, they were not able to get the ball back to the Chiefs offense one more time at the end. I don't blame them for that at all. They got stops all day, and the Chiefs offense was not able to do anything with it. So, and then, yeah, the special teams, like I said, the field goal miss, that was really bad. Tommy Townsend had some bad punts today. They had an awesome fake conversion, and that was really great, but it really didn't matter because you lost. And it was great at the time, but they didn't get up points. They didn't get any points on that drive because Butker missed a chip shot field goal. I understand there was some rain. Harrison Butker missing a 36-yard field goal just doesn't happen. It's mental mistakes with this team. It's poor decision making. It's poor planning. They just are not there, and they're making these mental mistakes all the time. So I don't want to put the RIP on the Chiefs season with 2 games to go and the Chiefs almost assured of a playoff spot. I believe they have a 96% chance of making the playoffs according to ESPN. They're going to the playoffs. They're going to win one of their last 2 games. They only need to win one of their last 2 to go to the playoffs. I do not think the Raiders are winning the division. I don't think the Raiders are a good team. I really don't. I think their defense is pretty good, but because of how they played today, but man, I don't think that they're going anywhere. I don't think they're going to the playoffs. I don't think the Broncos are going to the playoffs. So I do think the Chiefs will win the division. I think they'll end up with the 3 seed. Jacksonville is kind of falling apart, as are the Chiefs, honestly. And the top 2 seeds, the Ravens and the Dolphins, I don't think the Chiefs are going to be able to catch those 2 teams. So I think the Chiefs are going to end up with the 3 seed, and I think whether they win one playoff game or none, I think is going to come down to their matchup, which I think, because of the way the AFC is this year, they could get matched up with a team like Cleveland or the Colts or perhaps the Steelers, a team that's just honestly not very good. So that could happen. But yeah, the Chiefs right now are looking as bad as they've looked since that middle stretch of the season in 2021, where they had that bad drought where they were 3-4 at one point. The offense was all out of sorts. So the difference, I think, with it this time is I don't think it's because of Mahomes and because he's in a slump. I think it's because the talent around him is not good enough. I think the Chiefs are missing Eric Bieniemy. I think that hasn't been it's not a new take on my part, but I think that the Chiefs are not being held accountable enough for their silly mistakes that they're making consistently throughout the game. I just think that the Chiefs, like I said, I wouldn't be shocked at all if the Chiefs won their next 2 games, and if they even looked good offensively for 1 or 2 of those games. That wouldn't shock me at all. But I don't think that this team has the talent this year to win 3 consecutive playoff games to get to the Super Bowl. I don't think it's going to happen because, again, I repeat, they're not going to get the number 1 seed. It's not possible at this point because the Ravens would have to lose all 3 of their games, and then the Dolphins would have to lose 2 out of their 3, but the one that they win is against the Ravens because they play each other. It's not going to happen. It's not happening. And by the way, the Chiefs would have to win their next 2 games. Yeah, they're not getting the 1 seed at 11-6. Very, very unlikely. But the good news is that they're still probably going to the playoffs. Almost certainly. They could have clinched it today. They could have made it a sure thing. But they're going to the playoffs. The Broncos lost to the Patriots last night. It's the NFL. It happens. I mean, if you want to look at this from a positive standpoint, you could say, hey, there's still 2 games to go. They could still get it going. And they could get favorable matchups in the playoffs. And maybe they'll turn it on in the playoffs. But other than that, you're just kind of hoping. If you're looking at the data that this season has provided for us, you are kind of thinking a little bit too much in the past, I think, with what this Chiefs team is going to do, projecting what they're going to do in the playoffs. They're still a dangerous team. They have Patrick Mahomes. Simple as that. As long as they have him, they are going to be a team that can win. But I don't think that they have the talent on this team to win 3 consecutive playoff games. They are not screwed when it comes to the cap in future seasons. The good news is with these pass-catching wide receivers, they can basically move on from all of them this offseason and replace all of them, which is good news. And I think they'll probably do just that. Left tackle, I think they'll be looking for a new left tackle this offseason. I think Jawan Taylor will get better because he's still a young player. He still has learned how to replay the position since these penalties have been called on him consistently. So I don't think the Chiefs are screwed in future years. My stock on the Chiefs right now is still very high, as it should be overall because of who they have at quarterback and head coach. But for this season, I don't think this is a Super Bowl team. That's all I have today, everybody. Thank you so much. Look forward to talking to you next week. Merry Christmas.